Talking to you about the Chinese. Should we press on with this big deal for our nuclear power station? It'll be the first one built for decades. A third of the money will come from China. Australia has just pulled out of a major deal on energy with the Chinese because of issues over cybersecurity and national security. America has got an espionage case going on with China. And then, of course, there is the human rights record too. My problem's more prosaic, frankly. I just don't think we should have our energy supplies controlled by foreign companies. I didn't want Heathrow Airport to be bought by the Spanish, and I don't want all these electricity and gas companies to be owned by foreign companies who will always put the interests of their foreign shareholders before the people who use their electricity and gas. You may have more other reasons why you oppose the Chinese development in nuclear power in Hinkley. I'd love you to call 0345 6060 970. Can we trust the Chinese, or are we mad to cut our nose off to spite our face? They are one of the most powerful economies in the world. We want their money, we want their investment because they're creating jobs here. What do you say? How do you balance that interest? 0345 6060 970. Let's talk about cybersecurity because Carl Gottlieb is a cybersecurity consultant. Carl, good morning to you.
Morning, Andrew.
What is the potential problem about the Chinese and cybersecurity and them investing in our energy?
Well, there's two sides to it, really. One is investing in the individual power plant itself. So would they, for instance, scupper their own power plant and disrupt power supply, that kind of thing? So critical infrastructure concerns. The other side of it is the economic side. So the leverage they'd have over us economically. Could they then threaten to pull out at a later stage and then scupper us? You know, could that affect politics and so on? So there's a few sides to it, really.
Just remind me again the first point. Remind me what the first point was about.
So in terms of the power plant itself, so you had just had Malcolm Grimston on talking about the sort of the nuclear side of things, and his words were that he says it doesn't propose a threat. Well, ultimately it comes down to whether we risk assess this such that we think the Chinese will spend billions of their own money investing in a power plant to simply scupper it. You know, will they turn it off? Will they disrupt power supply? Will they use that to try and somehow infect the rest of the power grid? It's unlikely.
Why would they want to do that? What would be the advantage?
There's very, very little, to be honest. You know, if the Chinese really wanted to attack us, they've got plenty more effective ways of doing that. And, you know, my personal perspective is it wouldn't happen. You know, it simply wouldn't happen. Just from a business perspective, Chinese have got much bigger interests, much wider strategic interests than that, and that would disrupt any investment in any other country. So it's not going to happen.
What of then the Australians who've just rejected an energy deal with China over security fears? They pulled the plug, if you pardon the pun, because they feel the Chinese may scupper the power?
Well, effectively, it comes down to what risks you need to take. You know, post-Brexit, politically, current government are arguing we're in a situation where we need to be taking bigger risks. We need to be open for business and making new friends. You know, we've ditched our local neighbours in Europe and we need to make wider ones outside of that region. So, yeah, we need to take bigger risks. Do Australia need to take those risks at the moment? Maybe not. You know, they've got a lot of investment already. They can self-fund things a lot greater than we can. So, yeah, as you're saying, we'd love to invest in ourselves, but do we have the money to do that?
What do you make of the revelation in the Sunday papers today, Carl, that Mrs. May has been told by her security entourage, Prime Minister, when you're in your hotel room or wherever she's staying, she may be in the British Embassy, you should change your clothes under the duvet because the Chinese will be spying on you?
I think it's a very, very good move. When anyone goes to China, you know, any celebrity, any big corporate, you need to embrace it as a hostile environment. Now, most of the organizations and companies I work with, they do treat China in all aspects as hostile. Some companies I know, when their employees return from journeys to China, they will actually shred the laptops and mobile phones. They have that level of distrust, absolutely. And vice versa. You know, when Chinese diplomats come over here, they will expect a heavy amount of surveillance. And in terms of that spying over there, we have to consider that not only will it be the Chinese government, but it could be organizations that Chinese allow, that they sponsor, or even just rogue Chinese people. So there's many different parts of China that we should fear, but also embrace from the business perspective.
So when I stayed in that hotel in Shanghai, I was on about the 74th floor. We needed 3 lifts because of the fire regulations. Do you think they were checking up on me when I was in the bathroom?
Well, to speak of the bathroom, was it a two-way mirror? Who knows?
Oh God, here we go.
Who knows? But ultimately, it's all about the risk profile, and Theresa May, I'm sure, is a much bigger target than myself, or maybe even you, maybe.
I'm trying to remember when the Chinese came here on a state visit. They certainly, there was a banquet at Buckingham Palace. I can't remember whether the Chinese president stayed in Buckingham Palace, because I'm sure they don't have two-way mirrors in Buckingham Palace.
Well, who knows? I'm sure there's a few butlers out there that could provide some revelations on that. But ultimately, it comes down to risk, and keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Very good advice. That's Carl Gottlieb, who's a cyber security consultant. You're going to have to come back on the programme again, Carl. We'll get him in to review the papers. I like that. So there is very important advice. He takes it.
Because a lot of people were scoffing at the stories in the Sunday papers today that Mrs May has been advised to undress under her duvet and get dressed under the duvet. Not easy, I would have thought, particularly if you've had a glass of sake or whatever they drink in China. But he says very good advice. If you're going on holiday to China, bear it in mind.